It's always good. Well, welcome back to another garage episode. Here we are going to work on another quad. Yes, another TRX 450R. And it's not even mine, but this has been a project that's been sitting on the back burner for a little bit. It's the wife's. I finally got subframe, mainframe, A-arms, all that stuff powder coated. I've got all the fittings and everything I need, hardware, bushings, pivot pins, everything I need to finally put this thing together. It's actually going to be one of the easiest swaps or rebuilds I've ever done because I'm just taking everything from the old frame, which is over there looking really sad because she smacked a tree and bent an A-arm, and basically that was the last nail in the coffin. I just had to get everything else done. So thanks to Jason, I got some Liger A-arms. I've got some Elka Legacy shocks. I was talking to Jed and he said that those are some old Legacies, but got a good rear shock from Jason. Basically, I've been able to finish it, get it powder coated. I've got some cool colors on there, and I can move everything over to it so it's ready to go this time. And the engine is basically fresh. I had that thing fresh top end and everything on there, and it only made one race because that was the one where she smacked the tree. But no big deal. Steering stem, all the bars and stuff is good, so it's all going to get moved over. And we've even got some fresh graphics for the thing from Dirt Fiend. We're going to take everything, move it over, get this thing completely rebuilt, running again. It's already a good running engine, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Just swap it over, and we're going to be ready to roll. And I cannot wait to show you guys this thing because it's going to look so good. We've even got some fresh Lone Star bling on this thing. So let's get to it. Now, if you're wondering why I already have some stuff on here, it's basically because I wanted to make sure that some of the parts I had to go to High Gear Suspension and get these little spacers right here. These are basically your little eyelet bushing spacers, and they go into the bottom of your shock, and that's what fills in that gap and everything, the proper gap for whatever make of ATV you have. And I just wanted to make sure that everything fit, would go in there. I have the right bolts, and I kind of mocked up one side to make sure everything was going in the right place, and this clamp actually worked. I got some clamps from Mod Quad Racing. They're pretty much the only ones I could find where I could get these sweet billet clamps for these remote reservoirs and clamp them directly to the frame. Now, these shocks are basically built to sit just like this. I mean, the hose and everything is bolted on there. That's how it came, that's how it's been, so that you can actually mount the remote reservoirs on the front of the frame here somewhere. And even the remote reservoir in the rear has an extremely long hose. You guys can see I've got it coiled up right now. I'm still gonna mount it in the rear, but I'm gonna have to do like a loop just to tidy up some of that hose on there, because that was meant to also go up here so you could hit all three reservoirs up front real quick, which I guess is convenient, but I don't want to do that. I want to put that remote reservoir in the rear and keep it there, kind of separate the two things and just kind of clean up the front end. I don't want it too busy, I guess we'll call it. Okay. Well, we got most of the major assembly done. So this thing is pretty much all together. I've torqued down most of the stuff now that it's sitting under its own weight, cycled the suspension a bit. I really expected this to go a little bit faster than it did, but I run into little things all the time. You know, like some bolts don't match up, other things are in the wrong spot. I did also run into the reservoir for the rear shock was clocked wrong. So that means the hose that goes to it was clocked a little bit too close to the reservoir, so I couldn't get the clamper on it. So I loosened it enough to turn the hose and clock it at 90 degrees so it fits back there. Now it's sitting great. However, I lost a little shock fluid while I was doing that, so I'll probably have to send that back. Other little things like these are Liger's arms, and the upper A-arms are a different diameter than most of the other stuff we've run, especially the Albas, and the brake line clamps didn't fit because I had to go find all the little rubber pieces that come with them. Anyway, stupid, annoying little things like that, but we're working through it. Otherwise, it's pretty much together. I just have plastics and graphics to do. Graphics, by the way, are gonna be freaking sweet. Some of you may remember this thing when it got fresh graphics on it the last time, which I think was somewhere around middle of last year, but we were running these matte plastics. These, sorry, not matte plastics, but matte graphics that Dirt Fiend cooked up for us. And I like them. I love the color scheme. I like the pattern. I like the flat look actually is pretty cool, especially against other gloss parts, but we're going with something vastly different. Dirt Fiend went ahead and got these together for us. So we've got holographic graphics. I can say that, holographic graphics, whatever. They're holographic. They got the same pattern, same color scheme. However, they also have a ton of sparkles in there. So everything should look virtually the same, except it's going to be gloss, holographic, and sparkles all over it. But that's fine because this is going to match the frame that's black and sparkles all over that. There's going to be a lot more gloss all over this thing, but it's all going to match now. It's not going to be a hodgepodge of all kinds of other stuff. If you guys remember, this was also Vegas to Reno quad last year, and I took a bunch of my parts, put it on there so it was silver, red, black, gold, gray. Yeah, it was kind of all over the place, but it worked great. So this is going to work even better because now everything's built for her. Everything also matches. If you guys can see right now, it's already looking 10 times better than it did before. But anyway, I got to bring these plastics inside because it's warmer inside than it is out here. Believe it or not, it's getting down into the 40s at night here in Arizona, and graphics do not lay down very well out in the cold. So I'm going to take them inside. I've got the heat gun in there. I'll do everything in there, and then I'll bring it all back out, and I'll reveal this thing to you guys once I get all the plastics and graphics on there, and then we can do a little ride and a walk around on this thing. So let's get to that. here it is. It's finally done. The quad I'm dubbing the Chameleon. The reason why I'm calling that is because it's changed shape so many times and so many colors, and now we got the fresh graphics on it from Dirt Fiend. Like I said, the same color and pattern as before, but now we got holographic and sparkles. Plenty of sparkles. This thing is definitely better than it was before. I've gone through and put better arms, better suspension, stuff that's actually built for the wife, so it should run and ride a lot better than it did before, especially with the old pogo stick stock shock in the rear. But let's take a walk around this thing and I'll show you some of the things that we've put on here. And don't mind the noise, it's just my son living his best life right now, doing lap after lap after lap. We may have to fill that thing up here in a little bit. So one of the first things we had to address, and we took care of right away, were the shocks. So I went ahead and I bought used shocks, believe it or not. I went and got these front shocks from a guy named Richard Bain. He runs R2R Motorsports. He had these off a 400EX. So I bought the pair, and then the rear shock is actually from Jason. You guys all know Jason. I bought that off him with the Elka linkage for it, and I got them rebuilt by Jogaka. I had to ask I had to ask how to pronounce the name because I was gonna screw that up horribly, but it's Jogaka. Got some Mod Quad clamps to adapt these reservoirs to the frame so I can get these things mounted up here. I actually like them up front because it's easy to get to the knob right there. But he did a beautiful job respringing, revalving, and getting these shocks set up for her. The other thing we took care of, once again from Jason, are these Liger's arms. So these are actually the older generation, which are greasable. So they have the grease zerks on the bottom. You guys saw me put these things together, but this was like one of the first things I wanted to put on the front other than the shocks. And of course, all the powder coat you see was done by Powder Tech 2, my guy here in town. He did the Wrath front bumper. This is actually the bumper we ran for Vegas to Reno last year. And that thing is beautiful. He matched it up with the frame and the arms and the subframe beautifully. They were all dropped off at different times. So that, if you paint or you know a powder coater, it's kind of hard to match when you drop things off at different times and you have to blast and then powder it based off of memory is what he did basically. So beautiful job on that. And one of the biggest changes obviously is the graphics. Now you guys can see this is a new offering from Dirt Fiend actually. I think he's only been doing it since about April, somewhere around there. He's offered these holographic graphics. I keep saying that, but that's what they are. They're holographic, but I love the finish on it. As you guys can see, it's got a cool shine to it. Had to put a lot of the original parts on. Phoenix handlebars. I love these handlebars. She loves them. They fit. They're very comfortable. And they offer a lot of real estate to put things. So I actually still have plenty of room in here to put hand guards. It's kind of hard with the kill tether and the full switch block, but there's still enough room here to put our hand guards on, which is always a problem with handlebars and you got this much stuff on it. A couple other things I did was I went ahead and I grabbed some electronics off of mine. War Rig, as you know, is sitting there on a stand right now being torn down. So I went ahead and used a lot of my wiring harness, hooked up my switch block and all that. So this thing is not spliced together by those little plastic clips anymore. It's all clean wiring and everything like that. So that's always a cherry on top. Put a lot of the old stuff back on, got our old wheels back on there, pumped up the tires. I've got a new set of wheels and tires for her. I don't have the wheels yet, so I can't mount the tires, but we're gonna mess with some Sun F tires and my old Hoosiers. Of course, we had to put Rossi Engineering back on. Love that pipe. It sounds so good on here, especially with the OCP ported head. This is my old head with a Stage 2 hot cam, the stuff that we put on for our desert race last year. And basically I just rebuilt the top end with fresh rings, stock piston, all that stuff. Very reliable, still plenty of power, especially for her. And this thing just runs like a top. I do have to go through and clean the car because it was pretty bad. It had sat there for about 6 months and the gas, of course, went bad. And then another thing I had to do, I had to clock this hose on the rear reservoir so that it would fit with this brand new Elka clamp, which I got from Chris Martinez. He sells a lot of used quad parts and things like that. This was a new clamp, and I got it for a little bit better than you'll find it on the Elka website or anything like that, but this thing fits beautifully. Now this hose runs down without intruding on anything, runs all the way down the subframe and back up to the shock with zero clearance issues. I don't run into rubbing on plastics. The plastics just clear that, barely, but it sits perfect now and it's easy to get to the knob to adjust this thing. So there it is in a nutshell. I am glad to be done with this thing because it's been sitting there staring at me for months and months, and I've wanted to get it done for a while because it had so many good parts going on there. Now it's going to be a ripper. It's also a loaner, so when people come down, they can come out and ride with us and hop on this thing, and we can all ride as a family again. Now we have 3 or 4 quads getting put back together. So I hope you guys like this quad as much as I do. I hope you guys enjoy the series. I'm going to keep doing these things. I'm going to keep doing these garage builds, and I can't help myself. I'm going to keep building these things because I love doing it. I still got the MX machine to build, and we've got Project Cyborg, which is going to be our amputee adaptive quad for desert racing next season. So stick around for that. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you in the next video.